Hi, from this video we're going to introduce the dynamics part of the Miami, the physics. This is a very interesting part, and before we get into that deeper, we're going to introduce something, the basic to you. Let's click the Control N twice for creating the brand new thing, and let's switch to the right viewport. And skeleton created a joint. In the first video of the dynamics, we're going to create and introduce the dynamic joint for you. So we created the joint like a leg. There are three of them: the upper leg, and the lower leg, and the end. Okay, and let's click the Miami ready for creating the repository, and the parent, this bone chain, middle click and drag to the setup so that we can create the origin agent. And then let's create the place node for placing our agents. Switch back to the perspective view and scale this up a little bit. Let's just refine this a little bit and scale this up. Just select the bone shape we previously introduced it and scale this up. So in this video we're going to introduce this blue ball here. We previously skipped it part. This is called dynamic joints. This is very important before you simulate the dynamics. So we're going to introduce that. And let's create the logic and make it our agents playback as the dynamic object. Let's create the default logic here. The default should be turned to the default, but because there's no any of the default action, we do nothing here. And let's create the second logic here, dynamics, for transform our agents to the dynamic object, and this thing info, the current frame greater than 5. And enable dynamics, just like that. You can see that everything is pretty simple by now, and we only created only one logic here. The current frame is greater than 5. Enable dynamics. Let's play back our simulation. Height and not mentioned again. So our agents placed it and playback. So let's extend the frame range to the 1000. You can see that our agents turn into the dynamic object. And here we're going to introduce the very important, the dynamic joint setup. So let's firstly switch this guy a little bit. Let's change the logic here. The enable dynamic means enable the full body dynamic, but we want the root joint still there, not enable dynamic and controlled by the logic. So we only want to simulate the rest part of the body. So we need to fix the root one. This is called the body dynamic. Let's first switch that. Enable body dynamics. The body dynamics means the root joint is not enable dynamic, and the rest of them, all of the rest, enable dynamics. So let's play back our simulation. You can see that only the root joint fixed that, and the rest of the other joints enable dynamics. Now let's continue and introduce the dynamic joint for you. You can see that between each one of the joints there is the blue ball here, and when you select it, it will turn to the manipulator. The default is the ball type. We're going to introduce each one of the type for you one by one. And first of all, we're going to introduce the hinge. The first, before you set up, you need to point the green arrow to the next joint. For example, in this case, we're going to rotate it like this to making sure the green arrow point to the next joint. We can of course scale this up a little bit. Because the scale is will not affect the dynamic result, so we can scale up for better observatory. Then the next important thing is the axis of the rotation. Please notice that the leg can only rotate forward and backward in this the z-axis, so we need to rotate by this y-axis. Please do not rotate the joint like this, because our leg cannot be rotate, swing left and right. We can only rotate forward and backward, just like this. The y-axis is actually the rotation axis of the hinge joint. And here you can see that the swing up and down here, this is a rotation limit. You can see that you can rotate the leg, the backward, in the red area, and the rotate forward in the blue area. So let's first make it like this and then run our simulation. Let's just switch to the real-time display, okay, and forward, move forward and backward like this. You can see that the leg cannot rotate forward like this, because our leg, we are human leg, so we need to add some of the rotation elimination. Here, deplace our agents and select this joint, the dynamic joint again, and decrease the blue one. It can only rotate forward a little bit, because there is already a degree, just like this, and we can swing backward with the more angle, just like this. And let's play back our simulation, place our agents, and switch to the interactive playback. You can see that our leg cannot be rotated forward anymore, but the backward angle is bigger now. Can test it like this. So this is more nature. And then we're going to introduce the second type of joint, dynamic joint, is the shooter. The hinge, we can switch from hinge to the shooter. The first, we also need to point the green arrows to the next joint. Let's just rotate it and making sure the green arrow points to the next joint. This is very important, because all of the other setup is based on this, the pointing. Okay, just like that. And you can see that in the shooter type, the hinge has only one axis, but the shooter has 2 degrees of freedom in the vertical space and horizontal space. Here, let's just switch the color of that for better observatory. You can see that the red one can control the swing forward and backward, and the blue one can control the swing left and right, but it cannot rotate in the twist. It cannot rotate by the green axis. It can only rotate by the left and right and up and down. So let's play back our simulation and see what will happen. Here, let's play back it. You can see that we can swing left and right, of course, and swing forward and backward, just like this. But if we rotate it, the children is rotate along with the main joint. It cannot twist. So the third type of that is the ball joint. Is actually at a degree of freedom, the third degree of freedom, as the twist. It can twist and rotate by this axis. So let's first increase the left side. It can rotate to the left. So let's place our agent and play back the simulation. It can rotate to the left. So if we rotate to the right for the root, you can see that the child is the keep remain. So that means it can rotate to the left. But if we rotate to the left for the root, the children cannot be rotated. It will rotate along with the main. So that means we limited the joint to the right. So this is a twist, and also it can move up and down and left and right, the similar as the joint, similar as the shooter joint. So this is a twist. You can just adjust the parameters of this dynamic joint for achieving whatever you want. For example, you want to set up a hinge, a torso or leg or elbow. So they are a totally different type of setup. You needed to set up them one by one carefully. So this is our introduction for the dynamic joint, the basic thing of the dynamic simulation. Thank you for watching. See you next time.